I wanted to do a little bit about the 100-Year War. This is it in front of you. Notice something? It wasn't 100 years, it was 116 years. From 1337, so they say, until 1453. So, yeah, it's quite difficult to put this together because it just is. I think it's been done like that on purpose so that we can, you know, it depends. Say you believe everything, you're going to believe everything. But anyway, towards the end of the 100-Year War, we have Henry VI, which you can read that about him. You can just stop it and read it. And we've got Edward IV at the end of this 100-Year War. And when Edward IV is on the throne, then we get the War of the Roses. Or just before, yeah, anyway, somewhere in there. Don't think it's Henry, I think it's Edward IV. Oh, there you go. Sorry, it's just after. Well, it says here just afterwards, but these Edwards and that, they all I don't know, they're like the kings come on, go off, come on, come back. There's France in there, and it's quite hard to put it together, but they put, oh, there you go, beginning of the War of the Roses with Henry VI. And it went on with Edward and so forth and up until Richard III. Again, 116 years, not 100 years. So I don't know why it's called the 100-Year War when it was, why not the 116-Year War? So anyway, I was just looking through my bits as I do, seeing if there was anything. So the longest war was that one, the Iberian Religious War. Went on for 781 years. Wow. Wow, just wow. Wow. Did France conquer England? The 1066 Norman conquest of England under William the Conqueror, 1136 to 1130 invasion of northern England until 1157. The 1386 invasion of France was organised but never executed during the 100 Years' Wars. Was organised. The French invasion was organised but was never executed during the 100 Years' War. And then has been used by historians since the beginning of the 19th century. Now let's just go back to that bit. Sorry, I just missed that bit. We've done that bit. This bit here. What was the cause? Disfaction of Edward III of England with the non-fulfillment by Philip VI of France and his pledges to restore a part of the whatever that is, place called. It was taken and never given back. But anyway, you know, like I said, you've got Henry VII through to Richard III, or with the War of the Roses, but I have to keep checking the years. Who won? Who caused the 100-Year War? It's all part of the Napoleonic Wars, it says there. That one says, well, I think that one was saying yes, really. I'm just checking. And the houses change. Goes from the Plantagenet over in here. There we are. Here on Edward IV, it goes to the house of whatever it was, just missed it. Yeah, the House of York. And what it was is, a load of people say that he is illegitimate. And then on this conquest, Richard III could be illegitimate. It's like, what? Nobody is who they say they're supposed to be. It's quite confusing. This is why I didn't do it before, but the other time I asked Amy to look it up, and basically every video had a different story. So how can you report to anybody? It's like you need to go on your marks, get set, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then they were in, and then they were out, and that time of history is just like that. But each video I sent Amy, there was 3 or 4 of them. They were quite short, but each one had a different answer. So I was like, and it's all to do around this 100 Years' War. And you've got the War of the Roses in there as well. And that's where it changed from to the Lancaster, House of York, House of York. And then it goes, must go Tudor after that. Anyway, that's Edward, who was born in 1483 and had 7 children. And it was the children they declared illegitimate, because some of his children, because he divorced his first wife and remarried, and then that meant those children were illegitimate. I think that's what happened. Well, we already know that supposedly they can't, but it's obvious they did. Then it says, this programme is based its theses on the centuries-old claim that Edward IV was illegitimate, born to Cecily, Duchess of York, by the English archer, surnamed Bladeborn by some, while her husband Richard Plantagenet, Duke III of York, was fighting elsewhere. So that was the bit I wanted. Then it said that's Edward V into Richard III. Oh, it's so confusing, isn't it? There's so many Edwards and things. And I think that's just a little bit further on, but I was just reading it. That's the one we want. So I asked, was he, is he a good king? Perhaps the most successful king during the War of the Roses, the grandfather of Henry VIII, who's strong, warrior. On behalf of the House of York, he took the throne for himself through conflict. Did Edward IV lose the throne in? It says Edward, the young Duke of York, claimed the throne after the Battle of Taunton in 1461, when Charles VI and his Queen. Oh, it's gone out of thingy, Bob. Let's look at it again. Next one. Sorry, we've gone back a bit. The Earl of Warwick, the Kingmaker, changed allegiance with the support of Edward's brother George, Duke of Clarence. The young Duke of... Oh, it's gone on now. We read that one. You can go back and listen to that again. Now I'm just looking at a few of these, but I'm going to go into a bit more. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't. I think I'll go on. Yeah. Sorry, I filmed it before. So those are some of the things that I'd pulled out. And that's what those sites were saying. So I went and looked it up in here. Wasn't much, just a bit of information about him really. Which you can stop and read. Yeah, I think this is all starting to be the War of the Roses. But anyway, key facts about Edward IV. Was he born? Biography, historical. I was trying to find as much information as possible about was he illegitimate. I'm going to do this in stages, I think. And this is the first part. I'm sure there's going to be another one on this. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just looking at them. Sometimes I have to read it into, because sometimes they don't really make sense. Anyway. I'm just quickly looking here. Yeah, I think I look it up on there. You know, just looking for re-information, just seeing if it was in there, because obviously if he was, it should, well, people are talking about it. They are. But I don't think they like it. It's not our fault if it's the truth, is it? Oh, there's a different truth. So that explains a bit more about that. And then I'm going to play a little bit of video. So let's watch the video.
In 2012, scientists extracted genetic material from the remains discovered on the former site of Greyfriars Abbey, where Richard was interred after his death.
What this voice is saying is that Richard III, they uncovered him in a car park, and they've exhumed his body, and this is the findings of his DNA.
In the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. Overwhelming evidence. Their analysis shows that DNA passed down on the maternal side matches that of living relatives, but genetic information passed down on the male side does not. However, given the wealth of other details linking the body to Richard III, the scientists conclude that infidelity is the most likely explanation.
Who knows if we are ever being told the truth? But because if they have, say they've got his remains, it's got to be him, because half the DNA is his, but some of it isn't right if it's the lineage that he should have to take him through. So that means he's illegitimate. But I think it's Edward IV. I mean, I can't prove that, can I? But I think that's who it is.
If you put all the data together, the evidence is overwhelming that these are the remains of Richard III, said Dr. Tree King from Leicester University, who led the study. Speaking at a news briefing at the Wellcome Trust in London, she said that the lack of a match on the male side was not unexpected, because her previous research had shown there was a 1 to 2% rate of false paternity per generation. The instance of female infidelity, or cuckolding, could have occurred anywhere in the numerous generations that separate Richard III from the 5th Duke of Beaufort, 1744 to 1803, whose living descendants provided samples of male line DNA to be compared against that of the Plantagenet king.
Right, so here's Edward III, and then it goes into... Oh, there's the Black Prince. Oh, right, there, look. The Black Queen of England with Edward III. And then it goes into... It comes down here, so it's this one, Edmund and Isabella. That's that one. There's Edward II, Duke of York. That's it there. So it goes from them to these two, then these two, then that's Edward, then to Richard. Here, it's George, and to Edward, then Elizabeth. Henry VII, where's he? Where's Henry VII? There's the 5th. Henry VII, there he is. Ooh. Okay, there. Catherine of Aragon, Elizabeth I. So that's that bit there. So Edward IV, 5th. There he is. Edward IV, there he is. Oh my God, got it. There's Edward IV. George, Richard III. Yeah, there you go, that's the line there. So he was illegitimate, he's illegitimate, they're illegitimate, these are illegitimate, she's now illegitimate because Richard III is back here. Ooh, I'm glad we found that one. I wonder who the relatives were who gave their DNA, because the only living ones are who are there now. And it's really strange, isn't it, that his descendants didn't become heirs to the throne then. Even though they'd be illegitimate, wouldn't they? But anyway, let's carry on.
Investigation of the male genealogy focused on the Y chromosome, a package of DNA that is passed down from father to son, much like a surname. Most living male heirs of the 5th Duke of Beaufort were found to carry a relatively common Y chromosome type, which is different from the rare lineage found in the car park remains. Richard III and his royal rival, Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, were both descendants of King Edward III. The infidelity could, in theory, have occurred either on the branch leading back from Henry to Edward or on the branch leading from Richard to Edward.
So, this illegitimate bloodline comes via Henry or Edward. And it looks like Edward is illegitimate, but you can't prove it, and you know, I don't know, I don't understand why now it's all coming out now. Everything is just totally, well, of course we know it's totally different, but it's really strange that in a sense this information is coming out right now. But he got his illegitimacy from Edward then. That's what it looks like. He might have got it from the other side, but they're already questioning whether Edward is legitimate. And if he was illegitimate, he's illegitimate. See?
Henry's ancestor John of Gaunt was plagued by rumours of illegitimacy throughout his life, apparently prompted by the absence of Edward III at his birth. He was reportedly enraged by gossip suggesting he was the son of a Flemish butcher.
What it is that Edward and that, they were Plantagenets. And this person here is Michael, and he lives in Australia. And as Edward and Richard and all that are well, they're illegitimate because they're not. Anyway, we've done that bit. Then that puts this man here as the king. And that's, if that story, his story is real, this man here could be the rightful heir to the throne because of this illegitimacy problem where no king or no queen who is illegitimate comes to the throne. And what it was is the time team went, but then everybody's got ideas about him as well. Baldric! But he went to visit him and told him that he is actually the rightful king of England. So how incredible is that? We should have a king and it should be him. That should be the rightful king of England. If you believe in all that. Because a lot of people don't anymore. Because once you find the truth out, you realise that none of them are there. And this guy doesn't believe in it either. So there you go. The king, the rightful king, doesn't believe in it. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. This is just a part of it. Because this is all in, well, except this bit here with this guy here, Michael. But it's all in with the War of the Roses and the 116-year war. Anyway, so that's only a tiny weeny bit of it. But I just feel that this area is where the British Empire started and Tartaria for us. We were there. We were there. I don't think it was the Russians, or yeah, they might have had that. I don't understand, because we don't. They're not in the Commonwealth or anything like that right now, China or Russia, but everywhere else seems to be there except them. Anyway, I suppose they don't want the real truth to come out, so maybe they can't be. But thanks for watching. What's your thoughts?